Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. Our network provides world-class education, inspiration, and hope, and sometimes even a little bit of entertainment. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is coexistence and sustainability, such hot topics here in the world. And today we're going to be discussing marvels of the sea meet the jellyfish. Definitely not someone I want to meet, just letting you know. So joining me is the star of our show. Her name is pet psychic AMINAH. She's in California in the good old US of A. She is a professional speaker, a trainer, obviously a TV show host, and she leads her life by helping others, connecting you with your pets maybe that have passed over or people who have passed on, or if you have concerns about your pet, you can certainly reach out to her, and we'll find out all that information when she joins us right now. Welcome. Hello.
Hey, thank you so much. Friday, my favorite day.
Yes, it's a great day. It's good to see you again. You've been with me since the beginning, which I love. And I mention all the time. In fact, I've had people visiting me and they said, "You don't like candles? You don't use hair?" I'm like, no. I can't stand fireworks. I think about the pets. Fireworks are noise. They're
Yes.
like, wow, you really have changed. Like, we can all grow.
Exactly. Just at our own speed. Change, even if it's one thing. If your addiction is gum, for example, the dentist and the doctors and your jaw will love you, but any level you stop doing that.
So true. You know, I thought of you the other day. I was walking back to the house and a guy was walking past our house and there was trash blowing and he picked it up and took it with him. Like, wow,
my cousin. Yay.
Yeah, it's so cool. So Pet Psychic AMINAH, for people who are joining us because we have new people all the time, tell us a little bit about your background and why you're so passionate about helping people.
Some of it's just DNA and the way you are raised. I attribute a great deal of this. I'm the fifth child of parents with lots of other siblings above me, obviously 4 of them. And my mom was really, really, really great at seeing what her children were interested in. My dad was a coach. So if it had a ball, we probably played it and competed with it and all that. His main job, of course, was a tennis coach. And he played professionally for years. So did his brothers. And we got to have such magical experiences. I'm very, very blessed to also having parents that were teachers. Meant we had the whole summer off basically from school and any of those structures. So I have been very fortunate to see the entire USA and Alaska. I got them in late, but it's a little farther out there. And I've also traveled in Europe, kept in touch with people. But all of this boiled down to everything and everywhere I was. It was nature. It was somebody's pet, a cricket walking by. I was known for all of that. I would figure out why the earthworms were in the ground when I was little. And then everybody said, "Oh, no, those are doing good. Ooh, okay, I'll put them back in the soil." So it was a really fun growing up. Sure, there were plenty of times of travel and trial and learning what was what. The first time you get thrown off a horse, man, you really don't want to ever have that happen again. Luckily for me, I saw it coming with the horse we had, And Dr. Jacalyn, you would have just absolutely died laughing, because what happened is the horse didn't buck me off. I literally slid down with the saddle under the belly because I didn't tighten the harness and I didn't tighten the belly strap. So it was a great experience because I literally had to let go and just land on the dirt and go from there. But it's made me who I am today, and lots of creative ways to not get into these troubles or even these easy things. My goal is to share as much knowledge as I'm given. I didn't know that why I always like to talk. I thought to myself, and it talked back. But only a few years ago, about 10 or 15 years ago, I found out that no, those voices in my head were people that had passed, or some animals that wanted me to get a message to somebody. It wasn't me just making up stories in my head. And I'm very fortunate to have spent the last 10 years with people who this is their core self, and their psychics and their dolias and their trainers, and really figure out what I want to do with my gift. And every Friday, it's here to give and share, because we can all do better, and it's free for all of you, to free advice. So let us know what you want to know.
There you go. I love it. By the way, I have to tell you something. We have a comment, and it's from Mr. Navy. Hello, with H9. I don't know what that means, but we're glad that you're watching. We've had a number of comments from 3 years back almost on our YouTube channel, and I hadn't even seen them. So I went and answered all of them. But they were really focused on a show that we did about why we shouldn't feed wildlife. So we're not going to go into that today, but just to let you know, today we're talking about jellyfish. So obviously, if you live somewhere in a beach community or somewhere where there's water, I'm not really sure exactly where jellyfish live, but what do you know about jellyfish that maybe can alleviate some of the fears that we have, or maybe our fears are justified?
Well, it will keep you alive. That's what I truly believe, and the science, I think, backs it up, that if we're afraid of something, hopefully we'll turn around and run, or stop engaging with whatever that is. My family has traveled a great deal, and when we were children, and sadly, I remember even to this day, my sister getting a jelly. We no longer call them jellyfish, and that's just teaching everybody, because they've never been fish. That was a misnomer from when whoever decided to name them. Oh, they were in the ocean, or they're in fresh water, because some jellies can be there, but box jellies are the most common. Why do they are box jellies? Because instead of that round, floaty hat light, if you've ever seen pictures of a jellyfish, they come in many colors, they come in many styles, but the box one, and it looks more like a box, and then they have their little tentacles that help them move and eat, and making sure that nobody eats them or runs over them. So that is one of the most common ones, and their safeguard is to sting people and sting animals and their prey. That's how they focus. Nowadays, in the world we are today, as opposed to when I was a kid, they didn't have hardly anything that could get us past how horrible our skin was for a while. Sadly, one of my sisters got one down her bathing suit, and it was, she talked about it years later and how humiliating it is, because they had to strip her almost naked in public because it was burning her skin. So respect. How do we get around a dog from biting? Well, first of all, the owners need to teach their dog not to ever put his mouth on anybody, and that would solve a lot of things. But jellies are out in the ocean, and we are the visitors. We are the ones going down there. So you will need to care with, and there's a ton of home remedies. I'm not going to make any recommendations, but I've heard all kinds of things. Even, I don't know if you've heard this, Dr. Jacalyn, because I know you've done a lot more probably ocean stuff than I have, is people's urine. I've heard this my whole life, that if you get, a jelly, and they usually get into your suit or your bathing suit or your shirt or something close to the skin, it's really bad. But I've always heard that people are, oh, you have somebody pee on you. I'm thinking, I'm not sure which is worse, the jellyfish
I have,
or the rule or the
I've
cure.
heard of that. I've heard of that with
Right?
jellyfish.
We've heard it all our lives.
Yeah. But
And I'm
here's
like,
the thing. Do jellyfish intentionally want to sting us? I mean, do we have any research? Hello,
no,
Jelly. Do you want to
they're
sting?
very, very gentle souls.
So
They
they just want us to get out of their way.
yeah, they're just like floating in the water, doing their thing. And then we have this, oh, I know everything humanity, because it's a lot of us have that moment. I've had them, and it's like, get out of my way. I know how to be here. And it's like, dude, this guy asleep lives in the ocean, but this little corner is his or hers. Can't you go to the left a little bit more and just ignore him? That would be a good thing. If you can't coexist, then just stay out of the water.
Do jellies travel together, or are they usually singular?
They are. It's mostly they're singular, but they will be together in a group. And what's neat is they're all over the world. I thought they were more like a lot in the places like Florida and less on the West Coast. We are, all the salted lakes are different, but actually they're really quite prevalent everywhere. And they're made up of their whole body. Guess what? They're 95% of their body is. Guessing? Everybody guessing?
Is it multiple choice? No.
Only if you use the percent mark. 95% is water. So imagine the floatability they have. Goodness sake, they don't have to paddle anywhere. And they have plenty of ways to maneuver their direction with their tentacles and all of that kind of stuff. But we're not talking about fins or hands or strokes, and yet they get from place to place in a really lovely way. Besides, they can pull it all in, and what you don't want is them to ink you, and that's that black, and they call it ink. It's a protection thing, and it pretty much blinds their aggressor, so they can zip out of there. And you should see, and I encourage everybody get some videos off, and I put some links on my pages for this talk, is that you can watch the electricity that they put through. It's just the science and our ability to get into their habitat without disrupting anything, and the movies and the videos that they've taken. Remember this, everybody, when I rescued a German Shepherd, and he wasn't very big or very tall, it wasn't any of that. He was pretty small for the breeds as they were being bred at the time. But I had people get off the sidewalk to walk around us because they were afraid of our dog. Jellies shouldn't get the same treatment. Jellies are a living, breathing thing. They don't want to sting you. Now, they won't stop being able to use their stinger. Like if it's a bee, they sting you, they die. So that's not the plan. I want, what we've been sharing on this channel is how to coexist happily. You say, hi, glad you're there. Dr. Jacalyn, I loved it when you talked about it and said, no, you stay over there. I'm going to go this way. I wish we could do that with the mosquitoes. I haven't conquered them. They just, I believe their brain is not there. It's just blood.
I did read a couple things. I did read that certain birds eat the mosquitoes. So the mosquitoes do have a role. And the other thing about jellyfish is I wanted to mention, I read that they are invertebrates, and they drift, and they usually only live for a couple of weeks, and at the longest a year. So I wasn't aware of that.
And guess what? They're also found everywhere, all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't think so, because our salt water might be different than somebody else's salt water, and somebody else has a pond or anything like that. But they're found all over the whole place. And they have so many names. The box jelly, are the most famous. And what it is that little bubble, which we can call a head, whatever you want, is more a box shape. So that one is the most common that you're going to see. They're made up of 95% water. How'd you like to be made of water? I don't know how you live in water and you're made up of water. Who's your cousin? Who's your mom? Who's your aunt? But they can be found all over the world. I thought it was, just a small area. So that's why I haven't talked about this in a long time. I did a college paper on this years ago, so had to brush up on all my terms. But they're found all over the world. And they're hundreds, literally hundreds of jellies all over the world. Why do I continue to say jellies? Because they are not fish. Fish have scales. So I want to help everybody come along with really, we're trying to get everybody educated about, the jellyfish. Well, drop the fish. They're just jellies. And who else is called jellies? Not even gummy bears are called jellies. It's the only thing I can think of. But yeah, I'm glad you caught these same things. They come in colors. You should see when there's this one that changes colors by its emotions. Its emotions. Can you imagine a jellyfish who has no brain? Actually, they think, they feel, they do hurt when, if their tentacle dies and falls off, it would be like you and I having a finger that got clamped and it fell off. But we don't regrow them. Jellies can. Jellies can regrow certain parts. So it's just amazing what they can and cannot do and what they can understand. Are they huggable? Not if you want to be comfortable. Don't hug them.
Do we have any understanding? Because I couldn't find this out myself. Why is it that they are at the top? They're floating along as opposed to being in the depths of the seas.
Perfect question. It's their structure of their body. So if you guys come up to bridgingworlds.us, my website, I always take whatever we talk about and I make sure there's pictures and videos. I think everybody learns a different way. So it's great to hear us talk, back it up with text, and then pictures. Pictures speak loud and clear. So what you're going to see is jellies look like, a lot of times, the white plastic bags we can put our groceries in, and once in a while they blow away because the wind catches them. Jellies are like that plastic bag that you put your groceries in, or you reuse, or whatever. They've got the little handles, and if you look at the tentacles, that, if you want to call them their legs, they kind of work like a leg. It's not called a leg, but they move in the water, and the body part, the dome, it's all different, depends on which part of the world they are in and which kind of water they're in, but it's a movement. It's a movement with the legs. And think of it, at least the way I always think of it, is like rowing a boat. You've got the oars, and these are their oars. They can move things around and they can do all kinds of things. What you want to be careful with jellies are they can be found all over the world. So if you and your children are out swimming, hopefully there's a lifeguard somewhere there where you can either check in with a guest thing with the city that you're closest to, the visitor center, and find out if there's jellies that you need to be concerned about. Hopefully they have them marked, but it's not 100%. Jellies like fish. Jellies are not fish, but like them, they have places where they all travel. If you want to see, salmon, and you go see the salmon run in Alaska. You see all these salmon jumping up the creek, jumping up the water. This is not what jellies do. They are usually in more deeper water, but not necessarily. Just depends on what they're hunting or what they're getting. And what I really, really suggest everybody, there are some magnificent colors of jellies and sizes and where they're most commonly have. I didn't want to bring that list. This is not, we're going to do this light and let people look into it if they're interested. But there's so much out there. YouTube videos, you can see how they swim and all that. What I hope everybody walks away from our show, Dr. Jacalyn, is a new way to approach nature, your life, and truly, truly respect that everybody has a reason to live. Or, why else? Let's take the honeybee for example. I've talked about it endlessly because we're in huge trouble in that where all over the US, all over the United States, and all over the Canada and everywhere in the world. Without a honeybee, you get no pollination for the flower and the tomato to grow and the zucchini to grow and the cow to have something to chew on and you can eat the cow. Okay, we are connected. This is what coexisting means. It means that I'm not more important than you are. Just because you like to drink coffee in the morning doesn't mean I have to. But I also don't have to tell them, oh, but you have to have a Dr. Pepper every 3 days. It's required to be in our house. These are wild examples of me saying, these jellies need the same respect. These jellies need to say, when they sting, they don't automatically die, but they can. And some of them have little tentacles. That's how they move in the water. Well, those fall off. Just like our nails need to be trimmed. And if you bang up your hand, you're going to miss your nail. Animals have so much similarity to us. If you just give everybody a chance to live in their environment, what works for them, not what works for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I thought of you earlier today. I went for a walk and there was, it's not a honeybee. It's the one with the dangling legs that looks very mean and nasty. It was
one of the wasps then.
And I immediately felt myself panicking because it was flying all around me and I was wearing white and apparently it's not attracted to that, so I don't get it. But I said to myself, just calm down. It'll be okay. It doesn't want to hurt you. It's looking for food. Maybe it's confused because I was wearing perfume. That was going
to be my question. What did you wash with some perfume soap or did you have perfume? Because usually that's why they're really coming around. They're like, oh, this is not a flower, but it smells like a flower. Why am I confused?
Right. No, I was wearing perfume because I did shows earlier in the day. So I thought, just calm yourself down and let it do its thing. It's not going to hurt you.
Well, because you're not holding a secret stash of pollen, right? Or
not that I know of, them pollen free.
Exactly. So it's the same thing. Let's go to because the fear you just were kind enough to share with us is universal. I'm not crazy. I can be afraid of a lot of things. Going, oh man, this is going to hurt. You see her coming. But what about take a deep breath and think, put yourself in their shoes. We're giant carnivores. Even if you're vegan, we are looked at as giant carnivores. So insects and bugs and their history with people, how many times have they been smoked out or burned out or whatever? The bees aren't starting wildfires. Now, some wildfires, I get it, do happen naturally, and it needs to happen for the trees. But can you imagine all the animals that are now homeless or people and the animals? But sometimes we forget that the honeybee is really, really vital to about everything you want to eat. Because if you're going to feed the cow to eat the cow or the milk, you got to have the honeybee to make sure that wheat comes up and it's pollinated and et cetera, et cetera. We're all in this together. I honor everybody who has fear. Sometimes that will save your life. And you will run away and turn and go and know, hey, that doesn't look like a good place for me. But being in nature is a challenge I hope you'll all take and just sit there calmly and see how it goes. I've worked with honeybees for years. And the one thing I learned was not only are those jackets great, that you can get the whole outfit, but when I wasn't able to do that, or was just picking up something fast or making sure the hive was good before I left for work, then I had to slow things down. I had to slow my energy down. I had to slow my trajectory of how fast I walked. And so don't be late for work. It is so important that we save the honeybee and so many other animals that go with it.
You will not get an argument from me on that. That is absolutely true. So what I'm taking away from this is We don't use fish. They're jellies because they have no bones. They're
Right.
invertebrates, and they're
They're
all
literally squishy little jelly balls.
yes. Now, a question that I have for you is why is, I shouldn't say why, but what is it that causes them to end up on the beach?
Well, hopefully, here's a pipe dream. Hopefully is just the time for them to pass. And because they are floaters, they're not digging holes in the ground or even in the ocean in the ground, because there's plenty of crabs and animals that do that. And crabs are a great example. Sometimes they're so much heavier. If you're called a jelly, can you imagine how much you weigh? I don't think there's a scale smart enough for how much they might weigh. Here's one that's 3 ounces and one's 2 ounces, all that kind of stuff. So they're going to come ashore, their body will come ashore. And I can't tell you how many times when we were, I think Florida was the worst part, where my siblings and I were out swimming, and it got in, my sister went in swimming, and my brother and my sister both got one in their suit, in their bathing suit. And in those days, again, lack of education of us truly understanding. So my dad ran out got buckets of ocean water and stripped my poor sister of her suit so she could get all the residue that is left from the contact with the jelly. It was, to this day, I remember, she was in a lot of pain. She was in a lot of pain. So what we have to do is just be cognizant of where you are. If you're really concerned about wildlife in a swimming ocean experience, then that maybe you're the candidate for a wetsuit. Florida, their water's pretty warm, yeah. So it's not necessary for that anymore, but it will save your skin and anybody getting into your, underneath your bathing suit. Bathing suits aren't really meant, unless you're a speed swimmer, they're not that tight. I think so, right? I haven't bought a new bathing suit in decades, since I don't have a pool anymore. But wouldn't you think, Dr. Jacalyn, that suits are so flowy, especially for the girls and the guys with just the boxers? You wonder how the jelly got in. Some of these jellies are teeny tiny.
I was going to say it must be their size, because some of the bathing suits that I've seen are minuscule.
Exactly. But then what was going to happen is they're going to, the jelly and the person run into each other. Then the jelly has all of these very sharp juices all over, and they're in their element, and it sticks to the person. That's when you get it above a bathing suit or anything like that. But I can't tell you how many times I've read when I'm reading up on documentaries and stuff like that, it's somebody and they got it down in their suit. And that's what happened to my sister. She was swimming, and I guess her suit was slight enough with the water, and the jelly got down into her stomach, about top of her stomach.
So what do you do if you do get stung? Do you know?
If you get stung, you're supposed to not pee on yourself. That's first, because that's a thing. It's out there.
Yeah, we were saying that you can.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Someone else can pee on you, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I didn't go into any detail of cures because the list was really long. As far as people are using this on the East Coast or the West Coast, or whatever tropical place they are in. I would say if you're going to travel and you're probably going to get in the water and they have jellies, you need to look into what they recommend for their jellies and their animals and their water system. Because what I don't want to is make a recommendation and the lotion, cream, whatever is toxic to the entire ocean floor. This is where we went wrong. And I own this. I own this completely on my own self and my naivete, and why I'm so cautious with this answer is because I used Roundup for years. I used it on the weeds and the hills, and I had tons of properties that I was helping landscape, and my gosh, we had foxgloves and weeds to galore. So it'd be the same thing as, I don't want to make a suggestion on a skin coverage or something for a water that might attract them, as opposed to put them back. There's so many perfumes and deodorant perfumes that we wear as women that attract the bee. And that's something we all can learn from. If you are all of a sudden going out and you're wearing your favorite perfume, and if you're like me, you only wear it on special occasions, and then all of a sudden you notice you're like the most popular person in the mosquito bee area, whatever the bug is, I would bet for you it is either your soap, shampoo, or your perfume. Something that's scented has attracted them specifically to you, especially if you notice it's really specific to you. And all of a sudden you're like the bug's best friend. I would highly suggest that you change whatever you're using. But remember, all good scientists know this. Change one thing at a time. Otherwise, you'll never know what fit. If you got rid of all three, and maybe for health reasons you might need to, that's absolutely possible, especially if you're getting rashes and all kinds of, because people actually can stop breathing from an allergy. So if your life is not in danger, just pick one thing. Or if you're strong enough to say, nope, I'm going to get rid of all of it and try something new, organic, whatever, I can ask somebody who's in that industry. That's what we need to be watching. That little rash came from somewhere, and it was for some reason. Now you need to do a little bit of sleuthing, looking up, finding out why, how come, and how do you not reactivate it. Because I'll tell you, having been around a young girl who got a jelly in her suit, and her family was so panicked, and she was screaming and crying because it's really painful from what I understand. I've luckily never experienced it. And they stripped her naked right there on the beach. And I mean, can you imagine as a 12, 13-year-old girl, and you're burning up and everybody on the beach is worried about you.
Right.
But to help, they can't turn around and say, we're not going to look. But they had to get the suit off because the jelly had gotten down, and all that parts that create the rash and create the reaction are right there being held in by her suit. So that's why the suit had to come off. And I've seen lifeguards have to do it too. And they're just
What
like,
do they do with the jellyfish after they remove it?
well, hopefully you're in the water. If you're in the water, which is, I've only seen like 5% rescues going. Usually the person's yelling, screaming, and running up the beach as fast as they can. And it's like, wait a minute, you realize they're not chasing you. You already have them. It's really, really sad that the jelly usually is left on the sand to die. Because there's, and it's a 50-50 chance. I can't guess for anybody. I'd like to say, because I'm not there when it happened, is they're taking care of the person that now has a very hot rash, and it will heal as long as you don't scratch it. But they're taking care of that. The jelly is not their priority.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that, you understand that. And so they'll be left on the sand, and they don't have the ability to get very far from the sand to the water. Now they have like a, what is it? That thing with lots of succulents. They have lots of little tentacles, like arms and legs that we have. But how far do you think a jelly can drag their body? I don't know.
What if you step on one when they're on the beach? Can you get stung that way or not?
Yes. Lots of people do. I've seen that with a friend, and they're like, oh my gosh, my foot's killing me. Another reason why sandals had a comeback for some time. Now people get lazy and we think, oh, I haven't seen a jelly in forever. What you have to remember is the ocean is their place, their domain. They're not like nocturnal, and they're not nocturnal, but they're going to feed themselves. They're going to come up. They can do what they can. When you have 8 legs, you can get a lot of places faster in the water. But remember, when you go to the forest and you see a deer or a bear and you're not me, then I'm going to be concerned anyway, but I'm going to think, this is so cool. I just have to hold really still and not get eaten. It is still their house. It is still their land. No matter how many times we chop it up and put houses on it or stores or whatever, it is still their territory in their mind and their upbringing. My mom lived here. My grandma lived here. My dad lived here. Whatever Bear Cup genealogy there is. We are finding that we're eating the world up, humanity, people, but we're not thinking about everybody that came before us. And the reason why we have a beautiful forest, because animals don't overuse. Beavers do knock down trees and make these wonderful, wonderful dams and all that kind of stuff. Do you know how many dams and or waterways have been built on the schematics of a beaver? That's a whole nother conversation. Whole nother conversation.
That is a whole other show. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Because I did a paper on this, and the short of it is a builder came in, bought a couple of pieces of land. There's a river, very gentle creek river, and beavers using it. And they put a retaining wall in there so they could build condos on the other side. And the story is not good from there for the beavers, but the neat part is it opened their eyes to how we build. How do we build our homes? How do we build the apartments? How do you build all the track of houses? Who dies in the process? Did you take into consideration that if nature doesn't survive, neither do we?
Well, we've also talked about the fact that you see wild animals that are walking through residential areas because there is new construction and they got pushed out and they have no place to go.
Well, exactly. And you wonder why they're eating your tree or they're eating your grass. Or, I mean, there's a bunch of places where you go golfing on the tees and there's goes a deer and there goes somebody else.
Iguanas too in Florida.
Yeah. And could you imagine seeing a whole rack? Get the guy and he's got the whole rack and you're thinking, ooh, maybe I'll give him my golf ball. But
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many animals get those golf balls, or they get the balloons. Oh my God, the balloons are the bale of just horrible for the whole environment. Because no matter how careful we are, they get away from us. They do. And they float and they float and they float. And an animal thinks it's food. Everything's a try. And they choke to death. It's a horrible death. It's an absolutely horrible, horrible death. So think about that next time. Every time I've been anywhere that there's been balloons, which I love just as much as anybody else, but most of the time I'm participating in helping clean up, or I'm part of the party in some other way, I always go over and pop all the balloons. And then I take all the rubber back and put it in a proper trash can, just so I know that this is what I can do. And I don't need to harp it on anybody. I don't get on a soapbox about it. If somebody asks me, I tell them. I said, these are really dangerous to the wildlife, so I don't want any piece of it to come. So if a balloon bursts, you know it could get little pieces everywhere. If you just pop it with a pin and it leaks, there you go. You got 99.9% of that balloon's intact enough to put it in a trash can somewhere.
I'm so glad you brought that up. That's something we haven't discussed before, is about balloons and letting they just go. And you think, well, where did they end up?
Well, and look what it's a celebration of somebody's graduation, or it's a celebration of a life that has ended and or begun, or whatever your celebration is with balloons. Please, please, please keep them in your home, and or tied to your picnic table, and then break them, pop them in your home, because you can manage if all those little pieces go running away from the bin. And make sure you dispose of them properly, and find out from your city if they have a recycle. I would love to hear somebody let me know. I've never heard of a balloon recycle. Never.
I haven't either, actually.
Well, because of the way a balloon's made now. Oh, don't even get me started on the shiny, wishy ones, whatever the ones are, all characters in a college graduation. And those things I can't even imagine they would ever biodegrade. We're talking over 30 years, because people have done this. They've taken things like gum, chewed it in their mouth, and then they stuck it in the ground, and they came back 5 years later. Guess what? The gum was completely intact. And that's what balloons do. They're completely intact, or they're pieces. This is even worse. If a balloon gets popped and a piece blows this way and a piece blows that way, what do animals do? What do small children do? They test it, they eat it, they lick it, they try to figure out what it is. But if they swallow it, it could kill them. And it's a horrible death for the animal if it's a big piece and they're choking on it. They could be choking on it for days and hours and a whole lot more. So think about that, please. Whenever, I'm not telling, advocate of don't ever do balloons. Just realize there's a responsibility that comes with doing balloons.
Love it. Love it. More great education. Thank you. We're going to pull up your website for people who haven't been there before. It's bridgingworlds.us. Let's take a look. And there's lots of valuable information here for people to learn more about you.
Thanks.
What are the key services that you offer?
The truth. I am, yes, a pet psychic, but I have been talking to people that have died almost as long as the other. It's lovely because I get to talk to my father all the time. And right now, okay, yeah, he thinks I'm silly, but he loves me and he knows that it's the truth. So I will never make anything up. I don't need to do that, but I will warn you before, because I've had to explain some deaths to people because I talked to animals and people that have passed. And I really believe that a person should be prepared to hear something, not come out of the blue and say, oh, hey, by the way, I know you were here for a tonsillectomy, but you have cancer. You're going to die. I'm thinking that doesn't work. So why wouldn't I take the same courtesy and say, I will answer the questions you ask. I'm not going to make up anything. I'm not going to say anything. If your parent, aunt, uncle does not want you to know something, I can't drag it out of them. That has been one thing that I've noticed with clients, is that they want to know something like a secret from the family, and it's not going to do them any good. So you can be turned down by a spirit just as much as you can a human in front of you. Dog doesn't want to go for a walk. He's going to sit down. You're going to drag him. So remember that. It's just real, and it's whatever. I've been such a privilege to be a part of so many people's lives. And I really enjoy talking to the ones that have passed, because there's so much clarity and there's none of the weight that we carry every day as being on this planet. So just think of that. When our family members pass, it's not bad. It's just the next step.
Thank you, Pet Psychic AMINAH, and thank you for sharing your knowledge and expertise to help us realize that we are literally not just 6 degrees away from, we're 1 degree away from everything that lives here. It has a right to be here. It's the way this entire system, it really is a system, was organized is it's so complex, and yet we have a role in protecting it. So
exactly.
What is the best way for people to reach out to you? Obviously, we just showed your website, but what if someone has a question or they want to hire you? What would you prefer?
Yeah, the website has my email address. That's the easiest way. It's the easiest way to type something, and we all don't get caught on a call that, everybody's got to be at work or somewhere else. And then we'll book an appointment together on what you're looking for. So an email, bridgingworlds.us is my website, and everything. And this page can be found on all of that.
Okay, fantastic.
So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you for another Friday. We are coming right back with breaking royal news from London. So stay tuned for that. So AMINAH, I will see you next week.
Absolutely. Right. Till Friday.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So as we close out, we're just asking everyone to be aware of the fact that we need your help. We are on a mission from our platform to grow exponentially so that people like AMINAH, all the TV show hosts that we have here, all the guests, all the sponsors, so as many people as possible across the world can know who we are and the value that we're bringing by providing world-class education. So if you're watching right now on the live or the replay, can you please go over to our YouTube channels? We actually have 2. You'll see the one here. It's USA Global TV. So if you're watching on Facebook or LinkedIn or X or Instagram, we'd love for you to join us on YouTube, because they give us real measurements. We know how many people are watching, where they're watching from, when they're watching, how old they are. Obviously, we need this information so we can make sure that we're targeting our information to our audience. So please do go over to YouTube and find USA Global TV and click subscribe. We also have a second channel that we have not had our team working on, but they are working on it now. This channel also has all the same content as does USA Global TV. And this is my name, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. So if you could subscribe here as well, and that would mean a lot. So we've picked up 116 new subscribers on this channel in the last 28 days. And on this one, we've picked up 630 new subscribers in the last 28 days. And the reason for that is because most people don't know about our second channel because I haven't been telling people until recently. So if you are subscribed to USA Global TV and Radio, would you please go over also to Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck and subscribe there too? We are keeping track daily of how many new people are joining. So if you're one of those, we thank you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Also, we have a new show, which is Literary Insights Book Reviews. So if you're an author, or you're a publisher, or you're a publicist, if you have a book that you would like us to review, please do contact us. You can get the information in the notes. It's info@usaglobaltv.com so that you can send us your book. And as I mentioned, our next show is coming up. It's breaking royal news from London. So it's royal breaking news. Sorry, royal breaking news from London. And that's coming up right after this. You can watch it on USA Global TV and Radio, as well as Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. I thank you very much. I wish you a beautiful weekend. And we look forward to seeing you right after this for our next show. And then also starting again on Monday. Thanks again. We'll see you soon. USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents our partner and sponsor, Mr. Philip Sykes and the British School of Excellence, building confidence, changing lives. And now, proudly presenting the Polished Professional.
On a transformative journey with the British School of Excellence's comprehensive suite of masterclasses, crafted to elevate your professional and personal life. 8 outstanding modules will elevate you to the next level. Module 1, Exploring Life's Purpose, delves into the depths of self-discovery, guiding you to chart your unique path to fulfillment and success. Module 2, Mastering Professional Presence and Confidence. This masterclass is a deep dive into the art of self-assurance and commanding presence, which is essential for standing out in today's competitive landscape. Module 3, Learn the secrets of visual impact, how to curate a personal style that amplifies your professional brand. Module 4, Mastering Professional Etiquette and Communication Excellence, navigating the nuances of corporate interaction with grace and tact. Module 5, Elegance in Eloquence. We impart powerful techniques to captivate and persuade any audience with your oratory skills. Module 6, Unlock the potential of your emotional intelligence, EQ, and harness the ability to connect, empathize, and lead with emotional savvy. Module 7, Mastering DISC, building a gateway to understanding behavioral styles, fostering better personal and professional relationships. Module 8, Mastery in Dining Etiquette, building your confidence to perfect the subtleties of dining with finesse, enhancing your social savviness at any table. Step into the Polished Professional program where poise, elegance, and excellence aren't just taught, they're instilled for life. Join us to redefine your potential and polish your professional edge.
To learn more, go to thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. The British School of Excellence are investors in people. Let us invest in you.
Hello, I'm children's author Diane Floyd Bain, and I am co-host for several of the USA Global TV and radio shows. I joined because of the purpose of the USA Global TV and radio. They provide content for the viewers and listeners, an opportunity for people around the world to have their own show or even be a guest on an existing show. We truly believe in helping others get their positive message out to the world. We also have the opportunity for the listeners. You can watch on several platforms, and on YouTube, you can ask questions and even give a comment. We absolutely love it. I love being part of the USA Global TV and radio because I love positive messages. And who doesn't? And we need more of that in the world. We are a family, and we hope you will join us and become part of the family too.